I can say that I do not understand in any way, shape, or form how glamorized travel and living abroad have been made out to be. It's just life on the other side of the world. It's been oversold. Sure, I may have a YouTube channel that talks all about it, but it's important to look at the reality, not the fantasy. I'm Rafael Di Furia, and this is another episode of Not Your Average Globetrotter, and roll that intro. I'm on the march to 20 years abroad, and during this time, I've seen more and more Americans traveling abroad. But I often meet individuals who seem to have the idea that moving abroad changes you. Those people back in the US, they're just so uncultured and whatever. I mean, to me, it's just weird. I see the superiority complex that's developed, where there's almost this elitist attitude that people have towards people back in their home country. And to be fair, it's not only just Americans. Maybe years ago, I would have agreed that moving abroad does make you grow, but I might phrase it differently now. Spending time in another location, especially in a foreign place with a foreign language that isn't your own, only really introduces you to a part of yourself that you never knew before. You were always there, but just there are parts of ourselves that we sometimes aren't fully aware of, just simply because we've been living in some level of comfort for a good portion of our lives until whatever that point is, until we're introduced to it. But then going past your comfort zone really teaches you what your limits actually are. I can say that having been in a place with rockets flying overhead, that I most definitely learned that in particular was one of my own personal limits. But maybe in a more general or usual situation, it might just be that you find out you might not like a certain food, or that you're not a fan of being in a part of the world where food poisoning would be a regular concern, even from eating something as simple as vegetables from the local market. But going back to the original topic of the episode, I can't help but notice that over the years on dating apps, I'm noticing more and more dating profiles where it seems like the travel that the person does is their whole personality, and there's almost no substance beyond that, to the point where it just feels like their travel photos and their excursions are every fiber of their being. It feels like the Instagrammable moments have just taken over society and over-glamorized something that really is not all that big of a deal. The modern travel industry really just treats locations around the world like Disneyland parks, where you only get a taste of the local culture and don't need to challenge yourself to actually dive in and really get to know a place. In my opinion, it's actually almost a shame. I would even argue that that's actually part of the real adventure. That's part of the real fun. That's when you really get to know not just yourself, but the world around you. And it's not just to do with travel. But why is there this almost worship of luxury? Is this what happens when you take churches, mosques, and synagogues out of societies and just worshiping things? Are we as humans just hardwired to look for these dopamine hits that come from pretending like we're explorers who've seen the world and done all of these things? I'm just going to say it right now. You are no Christopher Columbus. You are no Ferdinand Magellan or whoever discovered wherever. You're just one of the rest of us out here living life. And yeah, maybe you've taken some pretty pictures in some pretty places, but what does that mean at the end of the day? The longer that I spend abroad, the less I understand this pedestal that living abroad or traveling abroad is put on. And yes, I am saying this as someone who's devoted the past 10 years of my life to this project, Not Your Average Globetrotter. But this is one of the reasons why I started this project to begin with, to show the realities. Of course, living abroad is fun, but at the end of the day, you can make anywhere fun if you actually try, even if it's in your own hometown. To repeat something that I've said so many times, wherever you go, you take yourself with you. And it feels like we've gotten to a place where as a society, we look for validation or approval from the outside, when in reality, it's who we are at our core that is so much more worthwhile exploring. I'm getting to the point that in life where I've done the exploring of the world around me that I've wanted to do, but it's not enough, I can say. I truly believe that there's so much more to life than travel, moving abroad and living on the other side of the world. I mean, maybe after 10 years of working on this project, I'm at a different place in my life than where I once was, having started this project in my 20s, working into my 30s. And yeah, I'm still young and there's still plenty to learn about the world, but this is something, being someone who's steeped in this topic, I can't help but see an almost worship of a false idol when it comes to all of this whole sphere. And I'm not particularly a religious person, but I do see so many people spend huge amounts of time and money looking to explore life when in reality, it just seems like it's really escapism from the real world. I've heard for years the discussion around how in the past people spent their money on things, but now younger generations are looking at spending their money on experiences. And I can't help but wonder, why not take these same funds and invest them into yourself? I mean, continued education, health. I mean, I've been looking at taking some trips this year, and each time I'm about to book it, I keep coming back to the same thought that, like, why do I need to spend such and such amount of money to see such and such place, and say I spend X amount of time working to waste those funds in a fraction of the time? Why not put that into something that will actually better my life and the quality of my life? And okay, granted, a move abroad to another country could be that, but it seems like the world we're living in, we're going for quick moments of enjoyment, but leaving substance behind. I realize this isn't the average episode of Not Your Average Globetrotter, but this is something that's been on my mind recently. I'm not saying I've got it all right and that what may be right for me isn't necessarily right for someone else. It's just, as time goes on, somehow this modern era and approach to non-sustainable travel practices seems to really be out of whack. And looking at how this also affects the world and our Instagrammable society, something just seems really strange to me. I don't know how to put it any other way. I'm not saying don't move abroad. I'm not saying move abroad. I'm just saying that there are some things, there are some values that I think are really out of whack in our modern world that we're living in. That there are just certain things that really need to be evaluated, and the reasons why people move abroad. Traveling to the other side of the world and seeing what's there, or living on the other side of the world and seeing what's there, can be a beautiful thing, but to the point where it is this thing that has to be attained and to kind of keep up with the Joneses or whatever it may be, it makes me wonder, where are we heading as a society, and what are things going to look like? Is there the potential chance we could get to the point where as a society we see, wait, there's more to things in life than just the pretty moments and the pretty places doing the pretty things? Maybe that's just me though. Anyway, thank you for joining me for another episode of Not Your Average Globetrotter. But most of all, thank you to those of you who helped to make this project possible on a monthly basis through rafaeldifuria.com/Patreon, the thanks button here on YouTube, as well as rafaeldifuria.com/support. Of course, if you disagree with me or if you agree with me, feel free to leave your thoughts down in the comment section below here on YouTube. And as always, I'm Rafael Di Furia. Stay safe and healthy out there. I'll see you all next time for another episode of Not Your Average Globetrotter. Later.